Pierre Bourdaud, a French actor based in Beijing and previous The Mighty Dragon interviewee, joined me recently on the podcast to catch up. I was keen to hear how his career is unfolding in China and how he adapts his acting style to the local culture. We discuss his latest projects and hopes and dreams for the future. Pierre, welcome back to The Mighty Dragon.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
We last spoke in May of 2022. Oh my God, 2 years ago.
That was a while ago, yeah. It doesn't feel like it though, but yeah, time
Oh,
just flies, doesn't it?
it really does.
Yeah.
I honestly can't believe how quickly that's gone. And are you still enjoying life in Beijing?
Oh, definitely. China is great. I mean, a lot better than it was during the COVID.
Yes.
Now we're free again, so it's actually very nice to enjoy life and being able to travel around the country and work again also, Even
Yes.
though work
Oh,
has been kind of slow, but it's good to be back on the
yeah.
saddle.
So it's
Mm.
just looking at your projects since we last spoke. We've got Snipers, Hidden Strike, Empires of the Deep. How did all that go?
hmm Well, Empires of the Deep was a very long time ago. Actually, is the reason why probably you watched it on IMDb, right? The reason why it's still up there is because the movie never came out. I got thousands
Right.
of stories about
Oh,
this one, but
yeah.
yeah, that was a
Oh,
wild ride. This one,
yes.
that was back in 2010, I think, and it was like the first, sci-fi movie, 3D
Yeah.
movie ever filmed in China. They actually used the cameras that they had on Avatar to use that. They
Right.
spent a fortune on that to actually be able to film it. And in the end, the movie never came out because
Oh
they
my God.
they had a lot of problems with this one, and it could be a whole podcast about just that particular story because a lot of shit went on, and it
Yeah.
was it was a wild ride. But that was
Such a
actually my
shame.
first movie in China,
Yeah.
and it was a good role too. I mean, I was the main antagonist in there,
Yeah.
and we had like an American director. We ended up having five different directors on that one because that first one left, and it was
Yes.
yeah,
So that was a bit
but
of a nightmare production.
a
I'm
little bit,
sorry to
yeah.
hear that.
That's a euphemism.
Yeah.
It was terrible. It was actually
It
terrible.
just,
But I mean, mm,
sorry, I was just going to say that the genre looked like a fantasy style story. And is this a type of story that attracts you now?
um, not so much the genre as it is the role, the character that
Ah,
attracts me to a story. But that is fun to do. I mean, back
yeah.
in the day, I was supposed to be a merman, so they dressed me as a greenish monster. I had like paint all over my body, and I had to swing a sword and ride on giant crabs and turn into a weird fish and all that stuff. It was super cool at the time because like the concept was really interesting and fun,
Yeah.
but I never got to see
Oh,
it. Mm.
I'm sorry to hear that. It sounds such an amazing project as well.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I think there's a couple of articles that were written in the Hollywood Reporter and Variety about it. Like the title, if I recall, was called Stunk because it was called Empires of the Deep, and like
Yeah.
how the production just sunk mainly because of one guy, which was the main producer who had never produced in his life and who was telling everybody how to do their job while he didn't really know how to do his.
Oh
So yeah.
God. There's always
Mm.
someone, isn't there? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no. Okay.
Mm.
I just wanted to touch upon working in China and the censorship where you are. How do government regulations and censorship impact your work as an actor?
It does impact it a lot. Actually, it impacts the whole industry anyway. Because I mean, the rules are very strict in China in terms of
Yeah.
what you can film and what you can't. And um, I mean, every year those rules change. They add up things that you're not allowed to talk about, or even words that you're not supposed to say in movies.
Yeah.
They can redub a whole movie because you have one word at one point that is not acceptable, or one actor who could be from one nationality. It happened before on a TV series that I did. The main actress was from Korea, and at the time, China and Korea had a bit of
Yeah.
a you know tense relationship, and so because she was from Korea, they were like, nope, can't we can't broadcast that. So they actually ended up reshooting all of her scenes with a Chinese actress, and
Wow.
the TV series came out maybe like 3 years after that. But yeah,
Yeah.
it does impact the whole industry because when you think about it, a lot after, especially after COVID, people don't really want to invest in movies anymore because it's risky. It's even
Right.
more risky in China because all of a sudden you can have a rule that says, you know what, your movie can't make it out. It happened on there was a production called 800
Yes.
here in China, and I mean it was a huge movie, big budget. I don't know if you've seen the movie, but it's a pretty good movie too. But the story is 3 days before it hit theaters. I mean, the posters were out, everything was ready, and 3 days before it hit theaters, they were like, "Nope, can't do that." So the
Oh
movie
my
ended up
gosh.
coming out like maybe 2 or 3 years after that because they had to do a lot of PR work, obviously, to
Yeah.
still get it out.
Wow.
But yeah, mm,
Wow. Oh my gosh. So with living in Beijing as a French
hmm
actor, how important is networking for you? And is there a big like group of expats there, like just
hmm
networking and working together?
it's basically everything here. If you don't have,
Yeah.
I mean, you could have all the talent in the world and come to China and know nobody, you're not going to
Yeah.
make it.
Right.
Because it's all like
Yeah.
what they say in Chinese, it's all about guanxi, they have a word for that, which is guanxi, which is all the, what do you call it, relationship that you have with people. And in
Yeah.
this industry, it's even truer than it is anywhere else because, I mean, you might know somebody who's going to put you on a movie, but if somebody else on that movie doesn't like you for some reason, whatever, you're not going to make it. And
Wow. Yeah.
any opportunity, you can go to 100 of, auditions and everything. If you don't have the right connection with the casting director or with the agent who's introducing you to the casting director, you're just not going to make it. It's not about talent
Right.
at that point. It's all about guanxi, and it also in China
Yeah.
it means this. It means
Right.
money. Yeah.
Okay. So if you were based in France, say, your life would be
hmm
completely different, would it, if in this industry
Oh,
in France?
definitely, but I don't think it would be better though, because even
Ah,
in
right.
France, it's also about guanxi. It's also about who you
Yeah,
know, and
right. Yeah,
But the thing is, they don't have as much as many productions going on all year round. In China, it's all the time. There's always like TV series, movie or anything going on. In France, it's they don't have that many projects. I know in England that they have probably more projects going on than over there in France. But I have
right.
friends who are not very famous, but like they're in France. Like if you look, you see them in the street, you're gonna be like, oh, I saw that guy before. So not very famous, but obviously they work. But the thing is, if they get one play a year or one role in one TV series or something, it's a good year. So
Right.
it's
Gosh.
it's pretty tough. Yeah.
And are there many French actors in Beijing or in China?
Not that many actually. I don't think we're.
Yeah.
I've met a few, but like properly trained um, actors with good background in theater, whatever. No, I don't think there's that many.
No. Wow.
There used to be quite a few, but COVID just made
Yeah.
everybody go home. A lot of people were very disappointed in China when that happened, and they were
Yes.
they were scared and left. So I'm
Okay.
one of the
Gosh.
few remaining. Yeah.
And you're staying in China for the foreseeable
hmm
future? Yeah. You're
Oh
staying
yeah,
in
yeah,
Beijing?
definitely.
Yeah.
I don't think I don't think that going anywhere else would be a good move.
Yeah.
Especially how you look at how the industry is going on in the West nowadays. Being a white
Yeah.
male is not necessarily a good thing.
Right.
You get
Yes.
a lot of rejection. A lot of my friends actually who were working in France are now because they're either male or they don't get as many opportunities as they used to.
Yes.
Which is, I mean, everybody's got to work, so I understand that, but that doesn't mean it would be a good move for me to go back. I get
Yeah.
definitely more opportunities working here than back in France, where I know
Okay.
nobody. By the way, I don't have any guanxi over there.
Oh, right. So you'd have to
Yeah,
start from ground zero
yeah,
out
yeah,
there.
definitely.
Wow.
Actually, a friend of
Yeah.
mine made that move a couple of years ago, and he's struggling. He's really struggling over there. Yeah.
And you went back to France a while ago, didn't you, with your family?
Mm-hmm.
Has it changed
Yeah.
much? Do you get back much or?
I try to go back every year or every two
Yeah,
years with the kids so that they see my
yeah,
family and all. But that's a weird thing because China, it changes all the time and so fast and everything. You leave for
yeah,
a year, you come back, it's a different country. France has been the same for the past 20 something years. All the time that I've been
yeah.
away, every time I go back there, it's pretty much the same. Yeah.
Wow. And
Mm.
whereabouts in France?
So I'm from Nantes in the northwest,
Oh, yeah,
like
right.
south of
Okay.
Brittany. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh,
And it
lovely.
it doesn't, yeah, it's a nice place. I mean, I
Um,
love going back there because obviously there's the food, there's my family, my friends, and
yeah.
clean air, and I love the fact that it's still there's a lot of nature that you can still see over there. Whereas
Yes.
in China,
Yeah.
there's people everywhere. You can go to the most
Yeah.
remote mountain somewhere, and there's still going to be people living there. So
Yeah.
yeah, I like going back there and just for the holidays. But working there, I don't think I'd get bored very very quickly. I
Not
think.
now. Yeah. So, how does the Chinese culture influence your acting style?
I don't know if it does really. I try not to let it influence too much. I actually have a have an anecdote about that. About like how cultural differences might have influenced my acting in a way and got me in trouble.
Oh,
Into trouble because I open my mouth too fast. Sometimes I just don't think and I just say things out loud and I go like, "Oh, did I just say that?" So basically, we were filming a TV series where I was playing this Russian spy, and the Japanese army is during the Second World War, and the Japanese army they know where I am, and I have like a code. If my phone rings twice and then stops, that means they're coming. So the scene is I'm under the shower singing in Russian, and so I hear the phone ring, and my head pops out of the shower where the camera is right in my face over here, right? And the phone stops and I go, "Oh shit, they're coming." So I run out of the shower. So we do this and the director says cut, and he starts giving an earful to the director of photography, the guy behind the camera. He's like, "Oh, he's not in the frame. What the hell have you done, blah blah blah." So I'm like, "Well, let's do it again." I do it again, but before it happens, because the DP got yelled at, he comes to me and he's like, "You're a bad actor." I'm like, "What did I do?" He's like, "Well, you're in the shower and then you come out and you should be ashamed." I'm like, "Why should I be ashamed of it?" "Because you're naked."
oh,
I'm like, "Well, wait a second. Okay, I'm naked. I'm alone in my apartment. There's people coming to kill me
yeah.
to be ashamed." It's like, "Well, that's how we do it
That
in
would be the
China."
last thing you'd think of, isn't it?
You
Oh, I'm
should come out of the
ashamed.
oh. Yeah, that's why they want it. So the reason why he got yelled at is because he didn't have the time to frame me. You should have done like pushed on my face, being
Ah,
worried and then being
right.
ashamed and go, what should I do? And then, but what I did is like, oh, they're coming. So I went out of the shower,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So yeah, he's like, you're a bad actor, all that stuff. And so he's like, but that's the way we do it in China. And
Yeah.
because I was already kind of angry at somebody who's not the director telling me that I'm a bad actor when really it's not my fault, and really
Yeah.
that what
That's
he's saying doesn't
crazy.
make sense. So he's like, but that's the way we do it in China. And I went, well, that's why Chinese productions suck.
Right.
And I look around and I see all the crew looking at me, and I'm like, oh shit, what did I just say out loud? And I wanted to like, okay, that's why you should not let your emotion get in the way,
Right.
But it
Okay.
was already out, and I apologize. I didn't mean that,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Just a
So that I mean that
frustration.
yeah, especially when then I get it, in China, that's because they're very aware about like nudity and everything. It should not,
Yeah.
but then it didn't make sense for me as a character to follow whatever he was asking me to do, and it would have looked weird on screen. So yeah, I mean, sometimes they try to ask things that we as foreigner would feel pretty weird. Like for example, when you have a director say, "Can you do it more like a foreigner?" We're like,
What does that
what does that mean?
mean?
Well, like you know how you foreigners are like, what?
Yeah.
I'm like, well, we're not like that. it's, it's like what you want us to look like on camera, But
Right.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that Asian actors get that in the West a lot as well. Oh, can you be more like Chinese? And it's like, well, we're all the same basically. Why do we have to be more like the stereotype that
Yeah.
you're trying to push? So
And
yeah.
I guess you are approached for roles. So, say you played a Russian guy there, you could be
Hmm.
anyone from the West, couldn't you, in a Chinese
Yeah,
movie or TV
pretty
series?
much. Yeah, I've played a lot of different nationalities: British, French, obviously, Russian, Chinese, also like a Chinese guy from the West, from Xinjiang. Yeah, it's
Wow.
actually pretty fun. It's
Yeah.
hard to it can be challenging. Like the last movie that I did, I was Mexican, and I had to learn because I know a bit of Spanish, but the thing is
Yeah.
I haven't been practicing for a while, and my Spanish is like Spanish, not Mexican
Right.
Spanish. So I had to relearn
Ah.
all the pronunciation and all that stuff, and yeah, it can be challenging sometimes, but it's fun. And
Yeah, sorry. I think it's
no,
super impressive how you just know so many languages. And is this something that you keep on top of all the time, or is it just when you can do it?
Um, I don't know. I mean, Chinese, obviously, I do a lot of acting in Chinese
Yeah,
because I live in China and, I've
yeah,
been here 20 years. So it's like part of my life now.
yeah,
English, I have a lot of friends from all over the world. And
yes,
no matter where they're from, usually we're going to use English to communicate. So English, Chinese, and French, obviously, I'm very, um, I feel okay
yeah.
having conversations in these languages. But like when I have to learn other languages like Russian, for example, for me it was really hard, and I
Right.
basically learned my lines the way I would learn a song. And it's funny
Ah,
because even after a couple of years, I still remember those lines. I don't remember any line that I did in French, like last week or anything,
yeah.
but I remember these lines in Russian that I did years ago because it sticks in your mind like a song.
Wow, I guess like if you were based in the West, that you just wouldn't get that opportunity to play so many different nationalities and speak so many
Probably not.
different
Yeah.
languages, right? So
Yeah.
it's a very unique experience what your acting sort of career in China is like. It's really interesting, I think. The variety of roles and
Mm.
experiences is incredible, I think. Looking through your Facebook page, because I had a peep,
Uh-huh.
you're a proud dad. You've mentioned your kids. You're a proud dad.
Yeah.
Do you think your kids will follow in your footsteps? And would you encourage it?
I don't think they will. I mean, I tried to show them as early as I could what it was I was doing. You take them on set, and sometimes
Yeah.
I'd be watching a film. I remember like my son's probably 2 or 3 years old, and I was watching a film that was really violent. It's the Western version, the Spike Lee version of Old Boy, and he came in right when there's a big fight, and it's pretty graphic. People fighting with hammers and
Yeah.
screwdrivers, whatever, like. And he saw it, and he looked at the screen, and he was like, "Ugh." I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! Okay, press stop. Like
Yeah.
this is what Daddy does. Okay, I'm gonna show you."
Yeah.
And I showed him like all the behind the scenes and all that stuff, how they rehearse, and then
Oh,
I
great.
shot a few scenes with him. Like, okay, now I'm gonna hit you, but I'm not gonna hit for real, but it's gonna look like it's real and everything. And I thought he would be interested, and he was for a while. But that now when he looks at movies, he's like, that's CGI. Oh, that's animatronic. That's is
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
no magic anymore. So I don't think they're really into it. My daughter's pretty much the same. They're like, oh, that's just a movie. Oh,
Wow.
Daddy's been
Yeah.
working with this very famous person. And, well, that's just a person, which is good. I mean, in a way, I think it's good. But I find it. I think it's a pity that they don't really feel the magic. I probably should have let the magic go on for a while because that's what got me into this industry. Really, is like you watch a movie and you don't know about special effects or anything, but it's
Yeah.
it's amazing. You look at Star Wars or whatever, and you're like, oh my god, I want to
Yeah.
be in one of these movies, right?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
it's like learning a magic trick. When you see a magic trick for the first time, you go, wow, and then you learn how it's done, and it's like kind of disappointing in a way because
Right. Yeah.
now there's no magic anymore. So yeah, I think I killed it for them. And
I, I think
mm,
too, when I lived in Hong Kong many years
yeah.
ago, I remember at lunchtime, me and my flatmate were watching something on TV, and someone was decapitated. And it was at lunchtime. You just think there
Mm,
must be. I can't imagine. in the 90s, sat watching the BBC at home, seeing someone decapitated at lunchtime, I think there would have been a huge uproar. So I think there's just probably more of a general sense of, more awareness of the those type of scenes for kids, I guess, and
Hmm.
it just demystifies it a lot more, I guess, than what we would have had in the West in those days,
Probably, yeah.
potentially. Yeah,
Mm.
wow. So how do you balance your professional and your personal life? Do you find yourself away from home much, or is it hard to?
Uh, well, that's the thing. When you're working, actually, whenever you're working, you feel like you're working too much, and then whenever you're not working, you go like, I want to work,
Yeah,
you know.
right.
It's got to do with the anxiety of not getting the next job, probably.
Ah,
But no,
right.
I mean, especially since after COVID, work's been pretty slow here in China still because I
Yeah,
think people they're still trying to make films and everything, but there's fewer than before. I think fewer productions. Um, so no, I'm very happy with being at home, taking care of the kids while my wife is working hard. So, and the fact that she's got a stable job, we don't have
yeah,
like an income problem or anything. So I can be at home more. I like being
yeah.
a stay-at-home dad. It's pretty cool, and it gives me time also
Oh,
to write because I've been starting writing a couple years ago,
great.
but I'm doing it more seriously now.
How's it
And
going?
Nah, I mean, it's very time consuming, but I just
Yeah,
realized while I was doing it that I was doing it the way Tolkien was doing it back in the day. So I was like, oh, that's kind of encouraging. I mean, I'm not comparing myself with him or anything. I
yeah.
don't think I have the talent that he had. But what happened is like 20 years ago, I started writing a small story, but just I started drawing maps and places and cultures and all that stuff. And I invented like a whole world in which a story would happen. And I
Wow.
realized that's how Tolkien did it. Like he created the world first, and then the
Yeah.
story came to. So that's why I've been writing it for a long time now. It's been 20 something years.
Wow.
I started as a script, so I have a feature movie script written already. But then I realized I have this whole gigantic world that I created, but in 2 hours you can't really, because the interesting thing is like discovering this world through the story. So I was like, well, it doesn't do it justice. So I just decided to make it into a TV series. But then, if I want to sell it or anything as a script for a TV series, it would be really hard, especially since I'm not a famous, scriptwriter or anything. So I decided to write a French novel first, and now I'm working on the novel. And
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
it's going.
So the novel, so you've taken the story into a French novel. Oh,
Yeah.
great. Keep me posted on that. That sounds
Oh, I will. Okay.
amazing. Oh, God. So this is where you're going to go writing?
It's one of the many
Hope,
roads that I
fingers
can.
crossed.
I mean, I started it for fun really when 20 years ago when I thought about that. It was just like, no, let's see what happens with it. But I never thought about selling it or anything. But then I've had friends who have read some of the parts and they were like, oh, that's interesting. You should do this, you should do that. And I got like many advice from actual writers. And I'm like, well, I can take it seriously now, even though it's not making any money yet. But I just want to get that story out and
Oh,
see what
that's
what happens
great.
with it.
Oh,
Mm.
fantastic. For acting aspirations for the future, any more roles or dream projects that you hope to be part of?
So far, I mean, I've had a couple of auditions. There's one role that I think could be pretty cool to play, and the audition that I did basically was a rip off of the scene in No Country for Old Men, the
All right.
shop scene. I don't know if you remember that one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it
Great.
was that, but in Chinese, a little bit, different,
Yeah,
but still, I could read, I could see that the writer was like, oh, he likes that scene. And I would have played the Javier Bardem role, like the psychopathic killer
yeah,
type of. And I've never played that before, and I
yeah.
thought that could be fun. You know, I don't want to scare you or anything, but
Yeah.
playing a psychopath could be
Yeah,
fun. Because when
great.
the fun part about acting is that you get to do things that you don't get to do in real life.
Yeah.
So being a good guy is fun, but being a bad guy is even better because
The bad
there are no
guys.
consequences
Yeah.
to whatever you do. Yeah.
The bad
So
guys
yeah.
are so they're so interesting, aren't they? They must just be
Mm.
brilliant, like so fulfilling to play. What does the rest of 2024 hold for you?
So far, I've got nothing really set in terms of acting, but I have a movie coming out on the 23rd, actually,
Yeah.
August 23rd. And
Oh,
it's a movie that I did last year in Chongqing in the west of China and southwest. And it's a great film. I've seen it already, and it's not because I'm in it, but it's a good film. I really like what the director did with the whole story. The characters are great. The Chinese actors in that are amazing, and I got
yes.
to play with two of my good friends also,
Oh,
Scotty Cox and Matthew Knowles. So it's a movie about American football in China, and it's a true story. And
wow.
yeah, coming out soon, and it should be pretty cool. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
But it is a good movie. It is really a very very good movie.
Best of luck with that. That sounds really good.
Thank
I'll be
you.
watching that for sure. As
Hmm.
I head off for France, any tips for me to enjoy France?
Avoid French people. Yeah,
I
don't
was
talk to them.
expecting.
Not in English. Speak French.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah,
my
I
God, the
mean,
two words of French I know.
no, I mean France is good. If you go there on a holiday, it's just the best country to be in, really. Um,
Yes.
like working there is kind of it can be stressful because French people can be, very French. That's the thing about French people. They can be very French, and I mean, yeah, it's you got very beautiful places to visit over there, and yeah,
Yeah.
usually French. I'm kidding. Usually French people are very nice.
Yeah. I can't
Some of
wait.
them, like if you don't go to Paris, you're
No,
good to
I'm not
go.
going to Paris this time. We're off
Where
to
are you
the
going?
Loire Valley, and we're also
Oh
visiting
yeah,
Orleans as well. So
nice. Gonna
for a
see the
couple of
castles over
days.
there. Beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm,
Great.
very
Thank you
nice.
so much, Pierre.
Thanks for
Um,
having
I'm
me.
I'm off for breakfast now. I guess you'll be wrapping up your day soon in Beijing.
Yeah, it's like the end of the afternoon here, so yeah.
Yes. Oh, take care, and I'll catch up with you
You
again
too.
in another couple of years, I wonder.
Oh, even
Maybe
earlier than
sooner.
that, we could. Yeah.
Totally. Take care.
All right.
See you
Good
soon.
talking to you.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.